This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is brought to you by JOC Analytics and DocuSketch. Hey, restorers, did you know DocuSketch recently helped one of their customers cut cycle times from 22 days down to just 8.5 and slash estimating costs by more than 85%? Faster estimates, faster payments, bigger margins. Learn more at DocuSketch.com. And at JOC Analytics, they transform your raw data into clear decision intelligence that empowers you to make smarter, more accurate choices for your business. Whether it's identifying your most valuable referral sources, analyzing job timelines to improve efficiency, or tracking your sales capture ratio to boost performance, their platform brings visibility to the metrics that matter most. With JOC Analytics, you're not just collecting data, you're using it to fuel growth, streamline operations, and stay ahead of the competition. Learn more at jocanalytics.com. Hey, restorers, welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I have an amazing founder, owner, visionary. I have David Grove with me. He's with BYLT, and this is a company that has grown really fast. And David and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about the lessons that are learned when you grow really fast in this industry. He is one of those stories. There are a few like him that have grown really fast, and our industry is an interesting place to be right now, whether it's technology or consolidation or getting paid or TPAs or whatever that may be. It's just a super interesting space to be in, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things changing. So David's here to talk about all of the things, share his story and his journey, and then talk about what he's learned in a lot of these areas that I think will help other restoration contractors that listen to the podcast. So I'm going to stop talking now. David, I'm going to toss it over to you to kind of introduce yourself. And I know it's kind of like, it's hard to do this quickly, but share the story of BYLT.
Okay. Share the story of BYLT. Yeah,
I
that's a
know.
big
It's a
one.
big, I know.
So I'm David Grove. I'm the owner and founder of BYLT Restoration out of DC, Maryland. And the story of BYLT basically is uh, I took a pretty decent sized group of people that had all been in restoration for quite a long time, and we got some funding and we started a pretty big restoration company right away. The first year was around 8 million. Second year was around 12 million. And we've kind of stayed on that pace around 12 million. And this year is probably going to be our best year, actually, just because of some of the changes we've made, but probably close to 15 million this year.
And how long have you been in business? When did you found
Uh,
this?
5 years in business.
Yeah.
This is our sixth year. So we started in 2020. So that was a pain point
Oh,
because I
sure.
finished the building and was ready to move in February 2020. So,
Good.
so that nobody came to the building, but it was done. And, that's the exciting part of that.
So how big is your team today? How many people work with BYLT?
We have 43 employees today and probably hundreds of subs of all
Okay.
different types and sizes.
What's your bread and butter? Like, are you mostly residential? Are you mostly commercial? Do you move into healthcare? Like, where's your bread and butter? And do you do full service?
Yeah, that's kind of a liquid target. It
Okay.
changes a lot, and
Oh,
as we're growing, it's changing more towards commercial and more towards kind of government even, and less residential, less TPA as we move forward. Um, and then what was the second question? Target?
your full service, I think,
Oh
mitigation.
yeah, full service, no contents. We do abatement and full service restoration.
Okay.
Rebuild.
So, you've talked about kind of the challenges in the industry. So, what have you seen as the biggest challenge in the last 5, 6 years since you started BYLT, especially maybe the last couple years that have caused you to kind of evolve from that immediate, like, burst out of the door, fast growth to now, okay, now we got to mature as a company, right, to grow more.
Yeah, so some of the hard things were profitability, especially on the residential side. With carriers and TPAs, as they make more guidelines and rules, it becomes a administrative burden and it's hard to keep up with it. Um, so that's one of the biggest challenges. The other, and I think everybody has it, is cash, having enough money to fund all the new work and um, just having cash for a company in general can be
Mhm.
kind of complicated. But We've gotten better at that too. A lot of the AI tools and things have really helped with cash, have helped with making things more efficient on the administrative side. So we're constantly working at that.
Okay, so let's dive into AI. I know it's like really early in the conversation, but I know this is an area you're passionate. So, how are you specifically using it then to get paid? That's a topic in an area that people aren't, they talk about using it, for estimating and maybe reviewing their estimates a little bit, which sometimes is more automation than AI, but how are you using it in this getting paid area?
So the first thing we did, and it doubled our collections pretty quickly, was we built a bot that was specifically for collections. We trained it with some past history, and then we also trained it to like how to read our AR and a few other things. And then the biggest thing that it was trained on to figure out was how to escalate even further than just your regular escalations, like putting a lien on or calling bosses or managers. Like, how do you escalate past that, and how do you escalate in other creative ways? So it's constantly helping us with that. And we always are continuing to train it, give it more information. And something up and coming, we don't have it yet, but we're building it now, is an actual voice AI bot that will actually call customers when they're 30 days, 60 days, 90 days past due. Instead of us making those calls daily or weekly, it'll actually make the calls. It'll schedule another call by itself of when it needs to make the next call. Pretty cool tools for sure.
That is cool. So what is the current bot? Not, I know not making calls yet, but what did it specifically do to help double collections? Like, is it sending emails for you, reminders? Like, what is it doing?
It just helped build better demand letters, but it
Okay.
also helped build like so when our collectors felt like they hit a wall, we
Mhm.
instructed them, don't ever stop at that wall, right?
Yeah.
Like always ask the bot at least a few different times to be creative and find a new way to get that money. And there's always a way. Collections is kind of like a bunch of cuckoo clocks on the wall, and you need to move them all a minute. They're all different times.
Yeah.
They all hit midnight, money comes out, right? But if you're not moving them, if you're just stuck on all of them, that's where the cash problems kind of come in. So that was kind of something in my mind. I just figured out like that's a way to keep the hands moving, right?
Do you feel like it's harder to get paid now than it was when you first started Built? Or do you feel like that's, I know it's never been super easy, but do you feel like that's something that's getting harder?
Only for certain carriers and certain TPAs. Commercial can always be hard, just depending on what's going on with that property management company and what you know about their AP systems. But we've even figured out a lot of those nuances. The things where it gets hard is like legal, if somebody goes bankrupt, that's the kind of stuff that you have to get really creative with.
Yep.
Or even just maybe property management companies just ghosting you. There are ways around that. You just, again, you have to get creative with it.
Yeah. So when you have owners call you, other restoration company owners call you, or you run into them and they're like, we're not using AI at all and I don't know where to start, where do you recommend that they start?
Yeah, so I think the easiest thing is get ChatGPT, right?
Mhm.
Pay for the plus version, not the pro, and just commit at least a half an hour a day to it, right? Because you're going to learn more from just using it
Yeah.
yourself than anything else. I actually have a couple quick little cheat sheets and guides I send people that ask that kind of question. They work really well for at least getting the basics down. But also try anytime you see a new tool, just try it. Most of the time it's free anyway.
Yeah.
If you hear of a new AI tool, be intentional, go try it, see what it does. And it might just be nothing, right?
Yeah.
But most of them that I've found are worth it. Even if it's a small little nugget you get out of it, it's worth it at least seeing what that is, right? Um, and then kind of the last thing is just learning how to prompt. So you can prompt ChatGPT to
Yeah.
teach you how to prompt. Ask it to train you,
Hmm.
that's one of the best things probably give me a guide on how to prompt you in the best ways, right? So,
Do you have your whole team using AI? Like, are your techs using AI? How are
yes.
you getting
So
them
I
to,
made it an initiative that is no longer uh, an option. So, and that just started about a week ago. So
okay.
at least I'm starting at my leaders and directors level, that it's not optional. I want to see at least a couple points from everybody each week that this is what I learned, or this is what I hated about it, or if I didn't do anything at all, maybe I'll do four next week. And that's kind of what I'm starting with. And
Okay.
but we are TJ and I have built bots like that collections bot for every single department. So I came up with a process to build a bot uh, for each department by giving each department head a list of probably like 100 to 300 questions.
Mm.
Fill out all those questions. Then we build SOPs out of those questions. Then we take all those SOPs and we build a bot for that specific department or position. Sometimes it's just a position because the position's so complex, but most of the time you can kind of feed the whole department. And we're in the middle of this initiative. When we're done, we'll feed all of that up to a master uh, agent, which will be the built agent.
So are you keeping this all contained within the built environment then so stuff doesn't go out into the universe? So what kind of platform are you using to build this bot? I know we're getting granular, but I am legitimately curious and other people are going to be too.
Well, when you do ChatGPT Pro, there's ways to limit
Yes.
it back. So that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And I
Um,
think Plus even lets you do that. You just have to make
you can-
sure there's a little switch turned off.
and
Yeah.
it's literally, I think, $20 a month for the premium. So it's not like
That's
you're
that's right.
like
Yeah. It's
compared to
not the
the cost of
$200.
other technology, it's really a
Although some people complain about the 200 a month, but the 200 a month is like hiring an assistant for 200 a month. So
yeah.
it's worth it, like what you're paying for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that you are doing some stuff in fintech outside of restoration as well. So talk a little bit about that before we move on to other topics, because I feel like this is the good time to talk
Well,
about.
can I go back to the other topic real quick?
Yes,
Something other
absolutely.
restoration companies should really, really know about in
Yeah.
AI is Notebook LM. The
Nope.
best tool for us for one thing, timelines.
Mm,
Adjusters constantly ask us if there's a problem on a job, make me a timeline that everything happened. So we're usually taking notes from three different systems, trying to conglomerate them into one system. And I've seen it take a day, I've seen it take 2 weeks to get timelines together, depending on the size and how many notes there are. Notebook LM, you can literally load every single timeline in about 2 minutes and then just hit a little timeline button and it'll give you the entire timeline with a whole list of casting characters that was in that timeline. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And Endor made a two-person podcast about any of the data and YouTube videos you put in it too. So
that's
it's pretty
cool.
neat.
I
Yeah.
just made myself a note. I'm gonna have to check that out. So are you using AI to help like integrate any of your other softwares together? Like I just did a webinar yesterday with Veris because they continue to open up their ecosystem with Magic Plan and they're opening up line items and there's going to be some more easy transitions between those things. Are you using AI tools or anything to help kind of streamline and maybe avoid like the multiple login issue that I know a lot of companies have between the platforms, those kind of things?
We haven't done too much automation. I have one guy who runs our abatement actually that's actually really good at it. He has some ways that we're planning on copying of actually using his to actually log into PSA for us,
Okay.
pull notes out for him. It'll give him whole summaries of jobs. I don't know. I only know a little bit about how he built that, but that is something we plan on like rolling out through the whole company once we get it out of them.
That's how you know when you're growing right, that they're doing it and you trust them and you don't have to
Yeah,
have your hands in everything. So that's
yeah,
a good thing.
for
Yes.
sure.
If
So
you
the other question was about the app, right?
Yes, but actually, I'm going to pivot really quick and then go to that one before we get out of the restoration tech conversation. If you had like a quick wish list of there are so many great platforms out there now. I know you go to any trade show and there's all of these new technologies, whether you're looking at like 360, or you want a new job management software, or you want something else for documentation, you want remote estimating, just all of these things. So if you had like a quick wish list of this would make it so much better for restorers when it comes to the technology side, what would be your like quick wish list? Like one or two things that you would love to see happen in the technology space.
Uh, I think one of the things is just more automation around the estimating, especially on the mitigation side.
Yeah.
Just making that easier because usually that's where we need the most help because you're trying to take it from a technician to an estimator. And sometimes that translation's tough. But if we can help have something that helps translate a bit across the platform through pictures and things would be helpful. Uh, and then really just the other thing is trying to like somebody making maybe something that's all knowledgeable with all the IICRC, all of, a bot that kind of knows our industry in and out, all the different companies, all the different things, and it kind of just holds all of its knowledge about the industry. Would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, that would be. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about this other app that you have going that's more in the construction realm. Talk a little bit about that and how that was developed.
Yeah, so it's a construction marketplace that is fintech powered and AI powered uh, that does three unique things. It gets an instant estimate onto the table, three instant bids from three contractors all at once after they do measurements of their room. The second thing it does is it matches the contractor to a homeowner based on quality, speed, and timeliness, or quality, speed, and cost, like what's most important to that person and to that contractor. And then the kind of final thing is escrowing money. So this is where the fintech side comes in.
Yep.
We're actually going to make unique draw schedules for each project. The money comes into our account and we just make sure the contractor completes on time, no different than a TPA would, and pay them, when those draws are due. But it makes it fair for both sides. The contractor is never too far behind, but
Hmm.
the property owner is never too far ahead. But we are not doing insurance at all. It's not our target space. It is purely retail construction.
So what prompted you to kind of design and start this app?
Probably about 8 to 10 years ago, I was flipping houses before I got into restoration, and I thought about the instant estimator. And me and a foreman actually wrote down on napkins what that would look like. And this is before Matterport,
Yep.
before all the craziness. But then as I got into restoration, I was like, man, it could do
Hmm.
this, it could do this. And then I was trying to model it even after a TPA a little bit. I figured out kind of some of the main keys that I need to pull off. And I've been blessed to have people all through my life that can add to it as advisors that all are, people that are part of TPAs, people that are really major contractors, people that have built and sold technologies. They're all feeding into it and giving me the advice I need to actually make it successful.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's talk about staying competitive in the industry. AI and I think leveraging technology is part of it. But every market is consolidating, right? I know that your market has consolidated some and there's been some acquisitions and stuff like that,
Mhm.
even in your area. So, what has it been like for you as an independent to try to stay, kind of ahead of the consolidation curve and relevant in your market, keep growing while things consolidate?
Yeah, it's tough. And I know the word's going around that everybody's down on claims from last year and this year. And I'm 90% sure that is because of the consolidation more than anything.
Yep.
I don't think it's just the TPAs are slowing down or carriers are tightening their wallets. I mean, those things are happening too. So
Yep,
it's kind of like a perfect storm.
it has.
But it is tough, and you have to start looking at other avenues. I mean, I started looking into government, thank God, like 5 years ago, and paid a lot of money to learn it, and we are finally like getting government work now, but that is a long, tough road to figure out for sure. And but it's also one of those things, since I have it, I'm not as worried about some of the consolidation things because I at least have that extra thing coming. And we keep adding to that. But then also commercial, especially in DC and Baltimore, there's a lot of commercial, and
Yeah.
it's hard even with all those competitors. It's hard for everybody to have all the work.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work out there, and I've learned to work with other independents more to figure it out together rather than try to be each other's competitors because you know we really need to be kind of working together to try to not get eaten up by the franchise. It's.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so that's a perfect segue to talk about Core because you are a Core Elite member. So talk a little bit about how long you've been with Core and why that was a good decision for your company. I know you've made some changes elsewhere that we don't have to get super specific about, but what about Core was attractive?
For us, core was purely about kind of the mastermind side of
Hmm.
core, meeting other restoration contractors, learning what they did wrong, learning what they did right, seeing, how they can help us, how we can help them, and it's paid off a lot. We've made some great relationships. We've learned a lot from the other members, and I just had a call with Diane yesterday, and I think they're doing a lot of really great things to get us even more engaged. So it's exciting. And I've got to watch Core grow
Yeah.
along with my company because he started around the same time. So it's been really neat kind of watching it year after year.
So how have you been able to leverage the relationships with other Core Elite, maybe specifically? There's some like really good companies that are in that Core Elite mix like yours, and I can think of a number of others. So how has that helped you in that kind of independent growth?
Yeah. So back even in like year two, some of the simple things were just we weren't whipping right,
Mm.
and we couldn't figure out how to whip properly with Dash and QuickBooks back then. We're now in PSA, but we talked to Mammoth back then, and they
Yeah.
they really just led us through it step by step how they were doing it. It was just like getting a playbook, and that's what it's like anytime you have an issue. I remember another time we're like at a tear gas cleanup job. Like we've
Oh.
never done one of these. We have no idea, and it's a very specific step by step. One of the guys out of California sent me their little know-how, and it was just simple, easy, step by step. Got it done. Didn't have to worry about doing it wrong or. But those are some of the like key things. The biggest thing is being able to go to a commercial or government client and say, doesn't matter how big, we got you.
Yep.
Right? It's no different than hiring ServPro. We have enough resources, right? And or if you do have another building in Colorado, I do have a guy that can go there. Is it built? No, but we have a pretty trusted network, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of cool part. And they've uh, worked with us a lot in giving us some free marketing tools, working with us on sales, all kinds of things. So it's been really, really good network.
Okay. I'm trying to decide where I want to go next. Let's talk about company culture a little bit. I know that you've worked really hard to build a good culture at Built, and you can see, your team when you're at conferences, it's very clear who's with Built, and people, you know, are champions of Built for sure in public. So, what has it been like to build a culture, especially when the company has only been around 5 or 6 years? That's fast to develop a
Mhm.
culture, especially one that attracts and keeps your talent when
Mhm.
you're in a pretty big market with a lot of players in your market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's it been like to build the culture?
Yeah, so building the culture, I mean, EOS was a huge help. And then actually this new tool I just found it's one of my favorite things. And it's also an AI driven thing. It's called Roam. It's a virtual office space that replaces Zoom, Calendly, Loom, like the video recorder,
Yep.
um, and Slack. And it does all of that for $10 a user per month. And
Huh.
it is one of the most amazing things because you get these little offices and you can knock on other people's offices, but it gives you this roadmap of your whole company where you can see everybody when they're working, what they're doing. You can go like knock on Jason's door, and if he answers, he has this little shelf of like multimedia you can go through with music and maybe a poster or whatever, and then or pictures of his family, and then it's just a voice conversation if you knock on his office. But you can move to video rooms like this, and then there's a big theater room too that you can get up to 1,600 people in, and like people can line up at a microphone to talk to you and stuff. But
Huh.
it's really, really neat, new piece of technology. The guy that created technology called Yext moved on to create this.
Okay.
It's growing super fast. It's brand new, and it's again one of my favorite things because just everything gets recorded in AI. And you can kind of even if you're on like a call on your computer or on your phone, you can just put it on speaker and record just sitting in your own office. So it's pretty nice.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I have my team is all remote and we use
Oh
we
my
use like
God, you would love it.
Monday and we have the Google Suite that we use and kind of blend those things together, HubSpot.
Well,
But
check it out. I can always show you after
okay,
too. It's really neat.
that is
But
cool. I used Motion for a while because I need somebody to like keep me
oh yeah. But,
accountable.
but this one, I think the biggest thing is it does start to build that culture because you'll notice there's stories just like Instagram. People
Hmm.
start leaving their stories about work and things on their
Oh.
motivational things. And then like people are just touching, reaching out much quicker and able to like you feel like you can just touch the person even though they're not there. But it's really valuable the culture
That,
side.
okay, that's really cool. I love it. Okay, anything else kind of on the company culture side? What about stuff that you do in person? Like, what do you feel like differentiates your company, maybe specifically from other competitors in your market? Like, what keeps people working at Built?
Um, I think we hire a certain kind of people, a certain value aligned kind of
Yep.
person, and we all have kind of a North Star goal that everybody really believes in, thinks we can accomplish. And um, I think that's kind of the main thing. Everybody just sees the a bigger future for themselves at Belt because we are kind of young and
Yeah,
nowhere to go but up kind of thing. So yeah, it it's exciting.
I like it. Nowhere to go but up. Okay, I always ask everybody when I can for a favorite restoration story. So a favorite job story, most memorable story. I know everybody in the moment then is also like, I don't remember anything I've ever done in my life. So that's also part of it. But
Favorite restoration story. Hmm. Man, I got so many of them.
I'm sure, and I've heard a lot of doozies over the years. So
Anybody ever have one about a raccoon like getting in through a roof?
no,
No.
sounds like a
This was
mess.
just one I estimated. It's not too crazy of a story, but it was really weird because I go out and it says there's roof damage and you don't know why. And you go up and there's something literally eating the shingles and ripped up the boards and stuff. And it was still in there. Nobody had even told me. I was up on the roof and like you could see it. But luckily it wasn't, I don't think it was a wake or something, but it's crazy. Yeah. But raccoons eat through roofs. I guess it's happened a few other times. My other estimators have seen it to where it happens kind of not often, but enough that, there's actual claims for it.
That makes me wonder how long the homeowner was hearing the raccoon though before they called for help because a raccoon is big
Hmm.
enough, you're going to hear that in your
You
roof.
would think so. Yeah.
Uh,
You would think so. I don't know if you hear my dog? I don't know.
no,
Get to pause. Okay.
nope,
Um,
couldn't.
cut
Zoom is
that
amazing
too.
like that. I like blocking out.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
really
really
good
good.
at noise blocking.
It
Yeah.
is. I've heard stories like spider infestations in crawl spaces. There was a guy who like knocked himself out when he realized like shined his light in a crawl space and it was all spiders and like tried to
Yeah,
knock himself out.
I have some really gross ones, but I'm not gonna scar you, you know.
That's
There's some really rough ones, but there's just, there's
I know
all kinds of crazy stuff out there in the world.
there is.
The coolest thing is just some of the interesting things we get to see, like houses that are really, really old.
Hmm.
built in really crazy ways, those are kind of some of the fun things you get to see because it keeps your job interesting to keep seeing the new ways, things were done.
Seeing the way things were done, right or wrong, or
Oh, a
in
lot of wrong, a lot of wrong.
yep,
But
yep.
in DC, there's some really, really cool buildings, like
Oh,
historic, that we've done. You go and you can tell they have like the old oil lines and things that run through them, and just really cool, well built houses.
yes.
But then you go to Baltimore, there's some really, really bad ones too.
Like that in every market, probably the
Yeah,
good and the
yeah.
bad, and that's what restores get, and you learn how to do it all, and it's fine.
Hmm.
Okay, David. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I think we mainly hit it all. I think I just want to put it out there with other restorers, like especially independent restorers. If you're looking for help with AI, I'm more than happy to help. And I'm even looking to possibly start a little side service just to help people because I feel like we all need to,
Yeah.
because we don't want to just get eaten up by this, because other people are hiring AI experts to come in, build out whole suites of processes and platforms and things. We don't have the resources and money necessarily for all that, but we can help each other and
Yeah.
get just as far ahead by helping each other.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, well, if anybody is interested, you can email me, Michelle at cnrmagazine.com, and I'll connect you with David and we can kind of go from there. David, it has been a pleasure catching up with you. Congrats on all of your success. I'm sure that I will be seeing you in the next few months, probably at the collective in
Yes,
August, maybe elsewhere.
definitely.
So, all
Awesome. Well, thanks
right.
so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right,
All
have a
right.
good one.
You too.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.